Hello everyone, this is Tenguru, and here is my guide to every weapon in the DLC and where to find them. Be warned that there are some spoilers for the DLC, so with that in mind, let's get started. First up is the Beast Cutter. This weapon is similar to the threaded cane, but scales more with strength. Although slower, this weapon packs a heavy punch from a nice distance. It also staggers, so it's very effective against groups of enemies. The greatest asset of this weapon is its reach, so take full advantage of that when using it. This is the first weapon available in the Hunter's Nightmare and can be found by dropping down from these steps. Just follow the path and you will find the weapon on a ledge with a hunter corpse. Next up is the Boom Hammer. It is a strength weapon that gets buffed when tricked, similar to the Tonitrus. Igniting the hammer causes your next attack to have fire damage added on and packs quite a punch, though it will need to be reignited after every swing. Hits with this weapon can send enemies flying. The fire damage scales off of arcane, so the damage can get pretty high. It's a solid weapon that's a lot of fun to use. The Boom Hammer can be found in the Hunter's Nightmare on the first floor of the dark building next to the River of Blood. There's a trap guarding it. Attacking the guy with the trigger won't work. Instead, break the explosive barrels surrounding the weapon before picking it up in order to prevent this from happening. The Piercing Rifle. Like its name suggests, this rifle is able to shoot through groups of enemies to hit all enemies in a straight line, dealing good damage with high enough blood tinge. You can still parry with this weapon, but the timing will be a little different, so keep that in mind if you decide to take this weapon for a spin. This weapon can be purchased from the Bath Messengers in the Hunter's Dream once you have the Firing Hammer badge in your inventory, which is dropped by this beastly hunter located just outside of the building where you found the Boom Hammer. Kill him and the badge is yours. The Gatling Gun. Portable version of the gun used by Jura in Old Yarnum. The strength required to use this gun is pretty high, but it's a lot of fun if you have it. Just be prepared to go through a lot of Quicksilver bullets in no time. With decent blood tinge, you can drain a lot of health off an enemy from a good distance. This weapon can be found by following the River of Blood in the Hunter's Nightmare past all of the Bloodlickers. There will be a cave at the end whose entrance is guarded by a hunter using this weapon. Avoid his bullet storm by hiding behind the nearby rock, and get some hits in when he switches to melee. You can also try blue elixirs to fish for backstabs if he's giving you trouble. Once defeated, he will drop his Gatling gun. Next is the Amygdalin Arm. This club transforms into a scythe-like weapon in its tricked form. This is another strength-based weapon with some deceptive range from the blade that whips out in its tricked form. As a club, this weapon deals blunt damage and can easily stagger enemies with most attacks. This weapon is found in the same cave as the Gatling Gun Hunter and is guarded by a blood-starved beast. Clear out the enemies or simply run past to pick up this weapon in a corner. The Beasthunter Saif. This is probably the first skill weapon you will come across in the DLC. This weapon functions similar to the Saw Cleaver with its open and closed forms, but loses the serrated damage bonus against beasts. It has wide swings with nice reach, which are effective at taking out groups of enemies. The closed form has a forward lunge on its R1, making it quite effective at taking out quick enemies. This weapon is found in the Hunter's Nightmare, following the path of the River of Blood. Past the dogs, crows, and beast cutter hunter, you will find a ladder. Take that up, then drop off the ledge on your left. You will find a short path with the Beasthunter Saif at the end. It is guarded by a red-eyed hunter that is using the Saif. Kill him or run past to get the weapon for yourself. The Whirligig Saw. This club that transforms into a buzzsaw is another strength weapon that is able to tear apart enemies, particularly beasts. With the serrated damage bonus against beasts and its ability to do multiple hits, this is especially effective against large enemies. You can also buff this weapon with paper to take the damage even further and grind enemies into oblivion. To find this weapon, simply follow the stairs down from the second lantern in the Hunter's Nightmare. Follow the path past a scurrying beast and a red-eyed hunter to drop down into a narrow pass filled with crows. Continue along the path and eventually it will bring you back to an earlier area with the wbirligi saw sitting on a small ledge. Next up is the Holy Moonlight Sword. This one-handed claymore will transform into a great sword glowing with arcane energy. Although it has a high strength requirement, this weapon scales highest off of arcane. Using the transformed R2 attacks will result in flying blasts of arcane energy that can hit distant enemies. Can be useful if a swing comes up short. This weapon can be obtained after defeating the boss Ludwig. Simply talk to his head while wearing church attire and answer yes to his question for him to pass along his sword. You can also kill his head for the sword if you don't feel like chatting. The Fist of Gratia. This left-handed weapon scales off of strength and uses a quick jab to stun enemies. Although losing the ability to parry can be a heavy price, this weapon does pair well with strength builds, giving you a quick attack to set up stronger and slower ones. This weapon can be found in one of the underground cells just after defeating Ludwig, on the body of a large church hunter. No key is required to access this cell. The Church Cannon. Similar to the other cannon weapon, however this version costs 10 Quicksilver bullets per use. It also fires in an arcing shot instead of a straight, so plan for that when shooting at distant enemies. To get this weapon, return to the elevator that you used the eye pendant on to access the research hall. Activate the elevator, but instead of taking it up, roll off and wait for a second elevator to appear. Pull the lever to take this second elevator down to a hidden room with a chest in it. You will find the church cannon waiting inside. The Loch Shield. This ornate shield can be used to block elemental damage like fire, bolt, and arcane. Although not an effective tool at stopping physical attacks, being able to minimize damage from elemental attacks makes certain enemies and bosses much easier to deal with. To obtain this shield, go to the research hall and travel out the door of the room with the 2 elevators. There will be a church doctor waiting outside that you can sneak up on if you are quiet enough. If you've raised the spiral staircase by pushing the lever at the top of the area, there should be a staircase that you can drop down to. There will be patients there, so be ready for a fight. Once you've taken care of them, travel down the steps to find a small platform with an item and a straitjacket patient. Dispatch the enemy and the treasure is yours. The Church Pick. This large sword can be extended out to form a large war pick that scales mainly with skill. As mentioned in its item description, this weapon is highly practical rather than showy. Both forms have fairly quick attacks with good reach that do a variety of thrusting and slashing attacks. This is an all-around solid and versatile weapon for skill builds. In order to access this weapon, you will need the underground cell key found in the research hall after raising the staircase. From the room with the 2 elevators, go out the door to where the church doctor stands and drop down to the staircase below, the same one where you can find the Loch Shield. This time, go up. Take the staircase to the right, turn to the left, and follow the path down the hall. There will be some patient enemies you will need to take out along the way. There's a dark room on the right with the key resting on a small ledge. Grab the key and watch out for the ambush. Once you have the key, return to the underground cells and open the door to the right of the staircase. A Yahar'gul hunter using the church pick waits in a dark corner of the room. Get their attention, but get out of the room quickly to avoid an ambush. Take them out and the pick is yours. Next we have the Rakuyo. This is the weapon used by Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower. It scales high off of skill, making it a great weapon for skill builds. It starts as a one-handed twin blade and splits to a sword and dagger combo. This weapon has a versatile moveset with far-reaching thrusts and spinning attacks. Being able to buff this weapon with paper also adds to its versatility. This weapon is located down the well in the fishing hamlet. Climb down the ladder to find a large circular room with a giant fishman inside. Try to defeat him, and once he gets to about half health, he will call another one to help. Put as much pressure as you can on him to finish him off quickly so you aren't fighting two at once. The second one drops the Rakuyo when killed. Simon's Bowblade. This skill-based sword tricks into a hunting bow. The bow scales with blood tinge and can perform quick shots with R1 or be charged for more powerful shots. The sword has good reach and a flexible moveset with some thrusting attacks. You can also attack enemies with an arrow in the bow form if they get in close. This weapon should provide some new options for skill and blood tinge builds. To locate this weapon, simply travel through the fishing hamlet to the second lantern. In the hut, you will come across the hunter Simon laying on the ground. Talk to him and he will eventually drop this weapon and a key. You can also access this weapon much earlier if you kill him upon encountering him in the shortcut to the first lantern in the Hunter's Nightmare. The Bloodletter. This strength and blood tinge weapon starts as a small mace, but you can damage yourself for a much larger weapon with high damage. This upgraded form has some powerful attacks, but a few of them can cause frenzy if used too frequently. This strength weapon can be extremely powerful in the right hands. The base form is fairly quick, but you will probably be keeping it in its blood form for the majority of the time. This weapon can be accessed once you get the key from Simon in the fishing hamlet at the second lantern. If you killed Simon, the key can be found on the floor of the same fishing hut. Take this key back to the underground cells, where you will be invaded by a hunter using the Bloodletter. He likes to use lead elixirs on himself, making regular attacks bounce off, so be mindful of that. Once he has been defeated, travel down the stairs and unlock his cell using the key you picked up in the fishing hamlet. If you choose to let him live, he will repeatedly invade you in the fishing hamlet. Kill him and the Bloodletter is yours for the taking. The final weapon in the DLC is the Kos Parasite. This weapon scales solely on arcane, making it a great choice for pure arcane builds. The moveset on it has some crazy attacks with some deceptive reach. Using L2 in its transformed state will even do an arcane blast that consumes 2 Quicksilver bullets. With some good arcane gems, this weapon is quite powerful and hard to read in PvP. You can get this weapon by defeating the final boss of the DLC, the Orphan of Kos. He can be tough to take out, but parrying him is your friend. Try to dodge towards him instead of away because he has some nasty follow-up attacks. Once defeated, the Kos Parasite is yours. This weapon won't reach its full potential unless you have completed Adeline's questline for the Milkweed Rune. To do so, simply track down the fully developed patients and kill them for brain fluid. One is on the platform where you fight the church hunter, and the second is in the rafters. Once you've given those, Adeline herself will fully develop, so just kill her, and when she reforms, give her the last brain fluid for the rune. Well, that wraps things up. Let me know if you found this guide helpful, and feel free to check out more of my Bloodborne and Dark Souls related videos. Thanks for watching.